Now at this point I'm going to overlay a scientific paradigm known as systems approach to Vedic astrology, which was developed by Professor V.K. Chowdhury and his son K. Rajesh Chowdhury of Gurgaon, India, which is now being used by more than 800 Vedic astrologers worldwide. It is based on the empirical studies of thousands and thousands of charts over a 30-year period of time. All classical techniques were employed and used and studied, but any technique that was not replicable was discarded. So we have reduced the study of the chart to the 4 elements of astrology: the 12 houses, the 12 signs from Aries to Pisces, the 9 planets, and the planetary periods, the timing of events. The systems approach identifies the functional nature of the planets, which changes for each rising sign. For one rising sign, yes, Saturn will cause harm, but for another rising sign, Saturn will never cause harm. The same holds true for all 7 planets. There's a functional nature to the planets. They're either functional benefics or they're functional malefics, and it changes for each ascendant or rising sign. And until astrologers figure that one out, they're not giving accurate information. Half of what they say comes true, the other half does not come true. We also identify the strong planets and the weak planets, the badly placed planets, and the afflicted planets. Well-placed, strong planets have the power to protect and promote their own significations. The weak, afflicted, debilitated planets cannot protect and promote their own significations. Nobody has a perfect chart. Everybody has some issues. The main thing we want to do is to identify the strengths and weaknesses and the functional nature, and then we want to assign the planetary astral remedial measures. We can fix whatever we find in the chart. If you don't know where the draft is coming from, you will always have the same draft. If you don't know which tire in your bus of life is low in air or flat, then you will go down the highway of life, ka-thump, ka-thump, ka-thump. We're going to put air back into the tires by doing the twofold planetary astral remedial measures. Then the person can have much smoother sailing in life. Now this number here, 17 degrees 47 minutes, is not an arbitrary number. It's very specific to the exact time of birth. 0 to 30 is possible. This number changes every 4 minutes of the day. This is such an important number. It's called most effective point of every house. And any planet within a 5-degree orb, so here it started 12 degrees and go up to 22 degrees. Those planets will have an impact in the houses they occupy and in the houses they aspect. Such as this Saturn. See, the Saturn's within 2 degrees. It's at 19, this is 17. So Saturn has an influence in the 11th house, and it aspects 3 houses away, 7 houses away, and 10 houses away. Now first we say that for the Sagittarius rising sign, there are 6 planets that will never cause harm. These include Sun, ruling the 9th house of Guru, Dharma, Father, and Religion. Mars will never cause harm. It rules the 5th house of Mind, Education, Children, and Investments. Mercury will never cause harm. It rules the 10th house of Professional Life. Jupiter will never cause harm. It rules the very chart itself. Venus will never cause harm. It rules the 11th house of income and friendships. And Saturn will never cause harm. It rules the 3rd house of independence, mental development, self-expression, communications, and entrepreneurial ventures. Now, some of you may be saying, well, Saturn also rules Capricorn, and Venus also rules Taurus, etc. When we say a planet rules a sign, it rules a house, it's relative to what is known as Mul Trikona sign. All planets have their own sign. For example, Jupiter has its own sign in Sagittarius and in Pisces. It rules Sagittarius and Pisces. All planets have an exaltation sign. For example, Jupiter's exaltation sign is Cancer, and all planets have a debilitation sign, which is Capricorn for Jupiter. But all planets also have a Mul Trikona sign, which takes precedence when reading the chart. Sage Parashara says, Grahas rule 2 bhavas. Planets rule 2 houses. Mul Trikona sign takes precedence. So Professor Chowdhury figured out that if a Mul Trikona sign falls in a Dustan bhava, an inauspicious house, then that planet becomes a functional malefic planet for that particular ascendant. There are 12 houses in a horoscope from the first round through to the 12th. Only 9 are favorable. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 7th, 9th, 10th, 11th. Those are favorable houses. 3 houses are not favorable. The 6th house, the 8th house, and the 12th house. These are called Dustan bhavas, inauspicious houses. Planets ruling the 6th, 8th, or 12th can, in some cases, cause adverse effects. And planets going into the 6th, 8th, or 12th automatically become weak. They're considered badly placed. The Mul Trikona signs are 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 11. Aries for Mars, Cancer for Moon, Leo for the Sun, Mercury for the Virgo, Venus for the Libra, Sagittarius, Jupiter for the Sagittarius, and Saturn for the Aquarius. If a Mul Trikona sign falls in a Dustan bhava, inauspicious house, the ruler of that house becomes a functional malefic planet. In this case, the 6th house does not contain a Mul Trikona sign, and the 12th house does not contain a Mul Trikona sign. So these 2 rulers do not cause trouble for Sagittarius. But the 8th house contains the Mul Trikona sign for the Moon. So Moon becomes the most malefic planet for Sagittarius. It will bring lightweight, short-lived, unhappy events on a regular basis, thus making the person somewhat touchy and sensitive over time. But because it's fast-moving planet, it brings lightweight, short-lived, unhappy events. They're usually gone in 12 to 18 hours. Moon's a very fast-moving planet. If it's not close to the rising sign degree, or not close to another planet within a 5-degree orb, then it's not causing any trouble. So now we can analyze the horoscope. Jupiter gets very high marks, being in its own sign of Sagittarius. We've discussed that. This brings that divine grace, good luck, good fortune, education, good personality, good reputation. Now, Moon at 27 degrees is not close to the rising sign degree, so it does not afflict the house it occupies, nor does it afflict the house it aspects, and it's also outside the 5-degree orb of Saturn, so it does not bother Saturn. If planets are not within 5 degrees of each other by conjunction or aspect, there's no impact. It's 30 degrees in a house, 30 degrees in a sign. So you can put 2 planets in the same house, or 3 planets, or 4 planets. If they're far enough apart, there's no impact. If they're very close to each other, then they do impact each other. Same holds true for the aspects. All planets cast an aspect 7 houses away, and some planets have additional aspects. Jupiter throws an aspect 5, 7, and 9 houses away. Rahu and Ketu aspect 5, 7, and 9 houses away. Saturn aspects 3, 7, and 10 houses away. And Mars aspects 4, 7, and 8 houses away. So we watch for those. But the impact is only if the planet is within 5 degrees of the ascendant or 5 degrees of another planet. So Moon in this chart is benign. Now Moon represents Mother. Moon is in Aries, Pitta, fire, dynamic. Mother was very courageous, very dynamic, very independent. But when a planet's in a Multracone sign, it is codependent on the strength of its dispositor, its landlord. So in this case, Moon in Aries is codependent on Mars. And where is Mars? In the 12th house of losses, separations, and end of life. It does connect Mother with ashrams, retreats, foreign lands, spiritual journeys. But this contributed to the early loss of his mother, Mars being badly placed in the 12th house. The systems approach astrologer at birth would have told his family that he needs to strengthen Mars by wearing a red coral gemstone about 10 carats in size as a pendant on a chain. Mars also represents younger brothers. It's in the 12th house of loss, so it denies him younger brother. He should not wear white clothing or pearls. And the remedy for the Moon is to help his mother or mother-in-law on Mondays, or elderly women on Mondays. And he could do the Shiva Puja on Monday, the 108 names of Shiva on Monday mornings from time to time. Rahu and Ketu, when they are close to the rising sign degree, they cause trouble in a person's chart, many challenges. So we don't have that problem here. Rahu is well outside the 5-degree orb, as is Ketu. And the 7th aspect of Rahu and the Ketu conjunction with Mars is benign. They're 18-degree separation, 17-degree separation. It's positive. There's no problem. No harm, no problem. Rahu aspects 5 houses away. It's about 19 degrees from Venus. 7th and 9th aspects are benign. So Rahu is causing no trouble here. It is in its exaltation sign. That's generally good for overcoming enemies and obstacles and winning in disputes. He was a very crack, top-ranked helicopter attack pilot with 2 tours of duty in Afghanistan. Mars is also military, and it's in the 12th house of foreign lands. So Rahu causes no trouble for him. Mercury at 11 degrees is considered extremely well placed. It's 18 degrees from Sun, but it's in the Multracone sign for Sun, so it is codependent on the strength of Sun. And Sun in this chart has some weakness. It's wonderful that it's in its own sign of Leo. That will open a lot of doors for him. It gives the royal father, royal guru. His father can be his guru. But there are 30 degrees in a sign, and 25 to 30 is the final 5 degrees. That's called old age and weak. An old person means well, but it no longer has the power to protect and promote its own significations. So this shows that his father has some weakness. So the weakness was relative to marriage and acquiring the throne. He should have been the King of England years ago, but there was some weakness there, so he doesn't have that does not have that throne early in life. Still very well placed Sun in its own sign of Leo. But again, at birth, someone should have said you should wear the ruby gemstone to protect your father and for leadership. And this could give Prince Harry some issues with his stomach, digestion, heart, blood, bones, and immune system. In the 10th house, we have Venus in the house of professional life. So this suggests that his wife, Venus is his wife in a man's chart, that his wife will be very much involved in a professional life. She will have her own career, her own professional life. Venus is codependent on the strength of Mercury, which is a little weak because of the weakness of Sun. Venus is also in its debilitation sign of Virgo. So it would be good for Prince Harry to wear a diamond gemstone to strengthen Venus, to help his wife, and to protect his older brother, income and friendships. Might be a good idea for him not to take white sugar products to protect his kidneys, pancreas, and reproductive organs. Saturn in this chart is extremely well placed in the 11th house in its exaltation sign. This gives an older brother who has good work ethic, who's quiet, reserved, conservative, and helps others. Because Saturn rules the 3rd house, Prince Harry will always gain money connected with independent entrepreneurial projects, and they can be connected with his older brother. But Saturn's in the Multricone sign for Venus, and Venus is debilitated. So we have to strengthen Venus to support Saturn. Otherwise there can be trouble with the teeth, neck, back, spine, knees, joints, and ankles. After he wears the diamond, he could also wear the blue sapphire gemstone, and navy blue and black colors are safe and favorable. He wore that beautiful black military uniform for his wedding. Very powerful look for him. 12th house, we have Mars. So Mars needs to be strengthened because it's in the 12th house of losses and separations, and it rules the 5th house of children. So that can cause loss of a child, or deny children, or delay children. Yes, it does connect children with foreign lands. So I think that connection there is that his mother's from a foreign land. His children's mother would be from a foreign land. But he can wear the red coral gemstone for children, peace of mind, property, and his energy level. 5 to 10 carats as a pendant on a chain. It's interesting, all the royal persons of India, the ancient kings and queens and royal persons, always had an astrologer in their court, and the astrologer would advise the proper gemstones. And they would wear the gemstones on their crowns and as pendants and rings in order to bring the planetary energy into the physiology, thus bringing health, wealth, courage, wisdom, compassion, and longevity of life. So these are the main points in the chart for Prince Harry. This is an above average chart. There are no serious afflictions in this chart. It's just weakness of the moon. It's in old age degrees, and it's ruled by Mars in the 12th house. So that's where the loss of mother came in. Good fortune connected with his father, but some weakness. His wife, very prominent in professional life. It's also connected with entertainment, fine arts, performing arts, and healing arts. But there's some weakness there, some debilitation of Venus. So he could wear the diamond, the ruby, the blue sapphire, the red coral. Those are all safe and favorable. Personally, I like the mystical pendant, silver yantra known as a kavach or kavacham, for strengthening all the planets all at once. They're economical, they're powerful, and they work. But he's a royal person, so he could wear the gemstones. This Jupiter in the first house will always bring luck, wisdom, morality, divine grace. It can bring male child to him as well. Moon, the fifth, might bring female child. Maybe you have one of each. But there's some weakness there because of Mars ruling the fifth house of children in the 12th house. Very powerful Sun and Mercury in the 9th house of father. The Sun needs to be strengthened. It's 30 degrees old age, 29 degrees. Well-placed, exalted Saturn here. So he gains by helping the elderly, the poor and the needy, working class persons, immigrants. Okay, these are the main point. A lot of pitta here, a lot of fire here. 4 planets in fire signs. Mostly pitta, some kapha with Venus, Mars, and Ketu, and Rahu in earth and water signs. And some vata with Saturn in an air sign. Mostly pitta. So I wish Prince Harry and his new wife all the best in health, happiness, peace, and prosperity. Namah Shivaya.